Hey guys, this is Angry Joe, and I'm here with
Henrik Froese, game director of Stellaris.
for Paradox Interactive, and we are taking a look at this incredibly exciting sci-fi. I don't know how many of you guys know, but one of my favorite video game genres is strategy, and especially 4X's. I like creating this huge space empire and sending my fleets and conquering planets. That's what I enjoy doing. Now, Paradox is actually known for grand strategies, which are incredibly complex, but they simulate things that no other game can simulate, but they've been pretty intimidating. Is this what we're looking at here? Is this a grand strategy or is this a 4X?
Well, it's a bit of both, actually. It starts out, especially more of a 4X game, where you start out small on a single planet and then you go exploring and meeting the aliens until you dominate them, of course. But in the later stages of the game, when you need to do diplomacy and forge alliances and so on, it becomes perhaps a bit more of a grand strategy game. So it's,
It looks beautiful just from the start menu. Okay, so I guess let's jump into the game, or what do you have to show us?
yeah, let's kick it off. I actually have a save game I've prepared where we're playing the humans. Um,
Oh, so that's the first question: is can I create my own race? Am I picking between different preset race types, or is it just human beings?
No, the take on Stellaris is that every new game should be different. It should be a new experience. So yes, you can pick between a few pre-scripted races, like the humans, of course, which I think most people will probably be playing most of the time. But of course, you can customize your own species as well, and I really encourage people to do that because we have like 100 different portraits.
Okay, so we're the humans, and this is Earth, and we've got sort of I like the view here. It's like a three. You can zoom into. Is that one of our fleets?
Yeah, this is the starting military fleet. It's just 3 corvettes, which is the kind of early start game fleets or ships you have. We have a construction ship here, the spaceport for Earth, which is where I build my ships, so I can queue up a few more corvettes there. And I have my science ship here as well, which is a kind of a unique thing with Stellaris. You have these scientist characters. You can think of them as, Mr. Spock traveling around space, having little adventures and so on.
Ah, cool. So there's little quests that you can go on or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly like that. The simplest mission is just to go around surveying planets and try to find which resources are there and so on. But sometimes on these planets, while they are scanning them, they find what we call anomalies, which are the starts of these little quest lines or side quests. If this was a role-playing game, that's what they would be. So as you can
That's
see,
cool. You got animations in there for surveying and just the I don't know, the galaxy screen looks really nice. It's all sort of visually presented right here instead of an abstract thing where you click on a system and then it opens up a window and you're looking at the planet, but that's the only way you actually see the planet. Looks like things that are happening you can see visually on this screen like that, right? For example.
yeah, in our other games, you might see a province on a map, and then you get an interface when you click on the province. But here, you can see the entire solar system on the map like this. And then I can go out into the galaxy,
Holy crap.
and we can
Okay.
take a look at that. So this is the solar system, and we have our nearby stars. And then I can zoom out, and you can see that the galaxy
Oh my
is a
god.
big place.
Holy shit, that is super. I know for 4X, like I think I'm an anomaly in space empire games where I actually don't like the mega huge galaxies. I kind of want a smaller game so that it'll only take me a day, 2 days, 3 days. Some guys like to go weeks,
Yeah.
months, years even. Can this game do both?
Of course, you pick the size at the start of the game, and the shape of the galaxy and all that jazz. In this case, I picked our currently biggest galaxy type, which is, I think it's 1,000 star systems. We're experimenting a bit with this and see, if performance is up to the task, we can probably make bigger galaxies. But you're perfectly free to start, a game with a smaller galaxy and for a tighter, more intense type.
How small can you go? Because I know that some games have limitations on how small you go.
I think it's something like 200 stars
Okay,
instead
cool.
of 1,000. So. Of course, in a multiplayer situation, that might be better because you don't want to spend too much time. You want to be have a shorter session.
Yeah, I think maybe even smaller than that would make me feel comfortable. Something like 50 stars, but okay, so 200. All right. So when we first start, how are we going to know what to do? Is there a screen that gives us our objectives or anything like that? A
There,
tutorial maybe?
there is an in-game tutorial. I've turned it off actually, so that it won't be annoying when I'm showing this. But it's basically a little advisor or robot guy up here, and he comments on stuff you're doing. And for once in our games, we actually have voiceover as well. So he speaks to you and tells you, this is the first time you're looking at the planet. You need to know this, and so on. So I think it's a breakthrough for us because we've usually had an out-of-game tutorial or kind of separate tutorial that you have to go through, and I'm not a big fan of that. So I much prefer having an in-game advisor. I could show it to you later if I can start a new game, but so every planet has kind of an abstract representation of the map, and in this case I start with a few tiles blocked by slums and industrial wastelands. I can clear them out. But on alien planets, this could be more interesting things like aggressive alien fauna, or
Very cool. Venus flytraps and
yeah, and they could and these tiles can even expand and eat your colonists and stuff like that. And then you might have to send your science ship there to research the situation and try to find out what to do about it. So,
that is really fascinating. It's cool.
yeah, so we have a lot of that stuff going on, little storylines playing out. You can also see here that these units of population have their own ethics. So in this case, I'm playing Fanatic Individualist Empire. And that controls the kind of stuff that I can do during this game. I'm a Fanatic Individualist xenophile, so I like aliens. And that limits me a little bit because that means I might not be able to just, for example, say I meet a pre-space age civilization living on a planet in medieval times or something. If I'm a xenophile, I can't just land my troops there and kill them all or take them over. So your choice of ethics when you create your empire at the start basically changes the way you're going to play.
So do you choose that at the beginning, or does it evolve over time?
You pick your ideology at the start of the game.
So I can pick a super evil empire.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Here we see we found a little anomaly here actually. So while scanning the asteroid belt, our science team found some sort of irregularity. Well, that's a bit vague. But you can see here that this scientist here has a skill level of 2, and this anomaly is fairly difficult. So it's a bit too much for him, really. So there's a high chance of failure here. Now, for the sake of demonstration, let's have him do this anyway. But I would normally wait until he has skilled up, basically. So this is the start of one of our little quest lines. And it's really important for me that these should also be different between new games. So there's a lot of branching going on, and sometimes, depending on which traits this guy has, if he's an archaeologist, the story could branch out in a different
That's really
way.
cool. It's like you're developing characters and an attachment to them. Please tell me that you can rename guys. Can you name those guys?
I don't think you can rename
Oh
them.
no, that would be amazing. You know what I'm saying? Like if we put this on Twitch and I'm playing with, I'm playing with my Twitch people in chat. They love stuff where we can rename the characters and you create these storylines for them. You should really think about possibly adding an update or something where there's a little, pencil key and I can type Other Joe. So Other Joe the scientist goes across the galaxy and gets experience and stuff. It's fun for when we stream the game.
Yeah, definitely. And it would be really easy to do. In fact, you can do it on solar systems.
Right, you can rename planets and things.
everything.
Are you able to name your fleets?
Yeah, your fleets, your ships. It's
Okay,
basically
then you have to do it for the characters.
it's basically only okay, we'll think about it. But as you can see here, we actually found some asteroids around this one. Among the asteroids, there's an alien ship, right? So now we have issued a special project. And if this was a role-playing game, you could go in, or this would be called the quest log. In this game, it's called the situation log, but it's basically the same thing. You can see the situation in here and what I need to do now. Let's see what it says. I can track it on the map as well, and you'll get this little ping.
And what is this telling us to do here?
Let me read it. I can't read over here.
An alien ship is drifting inside an asteroid belt.
Yeah, I need to send a construction ship there to try and study it,
We
basically.
should investigate what's going on, and so we'll get a little storylines. How many stories in these little dynamic quests can happen?
Well, we have. I have no real number really, but we have a lot of them. It's hundreds, you know. And again, if they always repeated the same way, it would get pretty tired, you know.
Okay. I am Angry Joe, and I am the most powerful space empire in the galaxy. I meet an alien race for the first time, and is there diplomacy? How would I interact with the alien race that I meet?
I'm going to show you. I'm going to send my military fleet over here, where I believe that there are some aliens that we can find. And
Because the next step I was gonna say is then how do I kill them and crush them?
yeah, well, this is a strategy game, so it's really all about dominating the opposition. You know, and
But
driving
you could do that in different ways, right? You don't always have to, wipe them out. You can maybe convince them to join an alliance or anything like that.
For sure, you know, and if you were playing like a pacifist empire, that's an ideology you can pick at the start of the game. You would probably be better served trying to bring them into your federation, which is one of these diplomatic things we have in the game. Or you know, you could ally with them, or if you're an empire builder, you could just make them your vassals or conquer them or stuff like that. We have a lot of treaties. I can probably load up a save game and show you a bit later on in the game what that looks like. But anyway, here's the really cool thing in Stellaris. The first time you meet aliens of any type, they're just given a classification, you know. So we're calling them the fairies now, these entities that we have found. And here's the reaction back on Earth to the fact that we've found
You found
life.
fairies.
Yeah, fairies, you know, we have found aliens for the first time ever.
Now, do the fairies have a fleet?
The fairies have a fleet, which should be over here. They look like some kind of space organisms, but the point is...
Oh, that's cool. I like your ship models here.
Yeah, they're really pretty.
And there's tons of different ship models in the game.
Oh yeah.
Oh hell yeah! Nice to hear it. So, now can we fight them? Can we fight the fairies?
Let's fight the fairies and see if we're man enough to take them out. So
So it's not tactical combat, but rather just a simulation. Am I gonna actually see lasers and stuff? Am I gonna see a battle play out?
yeah, you're gonna see the battle play out for sure. And I'm gonna show you that here. Let's see if I can get the camera to follow the ships, and we can watch it really close like this if we like.
Nice, cool. And then you could speed up time there. Is that speeding up time up at the top? Yeah, there it goes.
Yeah. I have some pretty basic thrusters here in the beginning of the game, so my ships are pretty slow. Oh, good. My scientist gained a skill level. That's nice.
There you go. Other Joe leveled up. He got smarter.
Yep. Oh, we failed with our special project. Well, you know, I wasn't quick enough studying that ship I found in the asteroid, so...
God damn it, Other Joe.
Yeah. I should pay more attention to that, probably. Right, so I can't give orders to individual ships during combat, but I can watch and study what happens, and then I can redesign my ships to be able to fight these guys better.
Hostile fleet engaged.
Oh, what did I do? Alright. So here you can see battle playing out.
Nice, cool.
Lasers and pew-pew happening all over the place. Now, I think I'm probably going to lose here because I have some pretty basic...
Is there any indication to us who's winning or where the health is of your enemy?
Yeah. This is basically the summary screen. I can see here at the top, basically if I'm winning or losing, and I can see how effective my weapons are, and those of the enemy, of course. I'm using...
Oh shit! The goddamn fairies are winning.
Yeah. Yeah, these are pretty tough guys. And you can see that they're actually regenerating as well. during
That's so cool. I like
So-
the interest. Like you don't see this in a lot of space combat games and 4X games. These interesting, different types of vessels, and especially living vessels like this. That excites me a lot. And there's gonna be other ones, other living vessels besides just these.
Yeah, there are all kinds of things,
Space monsters out there.
Oh yeah, that's why
Hell
we're-
yes, I love that stuff.
These are space monsters. They're giving a classification because we think it's kind of cool that you don't know what they are until you study them. As you can see here as well, my ships, when they're destroyed, as well as the enemy ships here, or organisms, they leave debris behind. So I can send my science ship here to study that debris, to reverse engineer their stuff, basically. So for example, if I had...
This game is so in depth and like lots of different things that you can do that I am not used to being able to do in 4X games, and I guess that comes from the grand strategy side of things.
Yeah, we kind of want our games to be deep enough to satisfy our core fans. So you need to be able to do some really interesting extra stuff, if you will. So we're not happy to do a simple remake of a classic 4X game. We're trying to kind of jazz it up a bit, or
I'm excited. You've got me excited. Now, one important thing about these types of games is diplomacy and the AI. Whether the AI is smart enough to interact with you. Number one, is the AI smart enough to keep up with you if you want to do a single player experience? And number two, does this game have multiplayer, and what kind of features are there for it?
Of course, it has multiplayer. It's always very important for us. It supports at least 32 people playing together.
Holy shit.
I loaded up a save game here from the office, where we've actually played 70 years into the game. And as you can see, there are some pretty interesting names.
Oh, that is awesome. And everybody picked their own logos and stuff.
Yeah. So you have like
The what
Soviet
slaves?
Union.
Zoom in there. The radicalized slaves.
Radicalized slaves are actually rebels that have broken free from one of these empires because they didn't like being enslaved on the planets. You can have slaves, you can also have robots working for you. So these are robot workers. They like to live on every type of planet, but of course, at some point they might,
The AI results
Yeah.
Skynet.
they might do the Skynet or Cylon thing, and then the galaxy will be
And
in.
then leave your empire and start their own.
Yeah, even worse than that, the robot workers in other empires will tend to join them, and it's going to be a galactic threat.
Oh shit. Get the fleets ready.
Of course, you can integrate alien races into your empire. Here's a pop from the race Mom Spaghetti, which someone created. Here's an overview of all these empires, basically, that you can interact with. And you can see the diplomatic status. So this is a protectorate, and there are some vassals, there's some alliances going on, that you would expect to see. And of course, I can conduct diplomacy.
Whoa, this is cool. I love seeing the creative alien designs. I'm so happy that you guys have put time and effort into that and little animation with that.
Yeah, and we don't as I mentioned before, you're not seeing the same 8 or 10 aliens all the time. So they're
That's so cool. Thank you so much for doing that. There's a bunch more then?
they're always going to be different, in some ways, in texture or the room background of the room. These are xenophobic isolationists, and I can tell that by seeing, the background in the room and so on. So we have about
Okay, so this is the diplomacy. This is what I was wondering. Like, what different things can you do when you talk to these guys?
Well, you could do the things in the previous screen, but you can also make various interesting trade deals here. If I can trade away my Betharian stone for some energy credits, or migration access, which means that their people can move into my empire freely, or border access. Can my ships go there? Can I build stations in their space and so on? So you can trade stuff for stuff, or you can just interact with them in a simpler fashion. And I can show you some more of these guys here.
Yeah, no, I don't want to spoil them. I want to see that's part of the whole fun. So another important aspect of these types of games is ship design. Can you show me ship design? And how many classes of ships are there? Would we get huge battle? Oh, awesome.
Yeah, there are corvettes, destroyers, cruisers, and in the late game battleships as well that are really huge. I don't think I have access to battleships yet, but I have cruisers. And then you load up various weapons modules, lasers or missiles or projectile weapons. You have shields, armor, and various exotic modules, snares.
Depending on the race that you pick at the beginning of the game, your ships will look different?
Yeah, exactly. And you can switch out parts of the ships, so you can have a different front section, for example.
Oh, cool.
So you can get different looks that
It's
way.
modular. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of modular. Because each of these modules has its own kind of function. So this has a large weapon. It's like a huge ship killer weapon that you can put there. Or you can put smaller weapons to fight smaller ships, basically like corvettes and so on, so that they can track them, and because they tend to evade the bigger guns.
So for somebody like me who who wants to get into grand strategy games but hasn't yet taken the plunge and looks at Hearts of Iron and it's like, oh, this looks intimidating. The screen, it's got all this stuff, but has played 4X games instead. Do you think that this is a good introduction game for people who are taking a dip into grand strategy, or what do you think?
In a way, yes. I mean, it's much easier to get into than historical games. But if you're really interested in history, then maybe not, because this is another type of game. This is really about
Obviously, we're in freaking space here. If you're
Yeah.
looking for historical, then you need to move on. This is, I like these kinds of games though, that you can go and create your own empire and do anything that you want. But as a new player who is trying to get into grand strategy, would you say that this is a good start?
It is, yeah, absolutely. Start with this game, and if you find that the diplomatic system and the warfare and so on is cool and fun, then maybe you should move on to like EU4 or CK2 or something. Or Hearts of Iron.
The Hearts of Iron 4. Yeah, cool. All right, so when actually does the game come out? Because I'm really excited about it, and I want to play it. I want to play it now.
The release date is the 9th of May, so it's coming out pretty soon, actually.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, it's coming along nicely, and I mean, I'm constantly amazed by how beautiful the game looks.
I know.
Our artists have really outdone themselves.
Yeah.
There.
And that's important because you're staring. Here's the thing about these games is you're staring at the galaxy screen most of anything, and for the galaxy screen to be beautiful to look at, it's like a relaxing thing. This is one of those games, you can get a plate of food, you can, just kind of relax and play it and develop these sort of dynamic storylines as you go along. And I do that in 4X games that are way more restrictive and without these little side quests and interesting aliens and little anomalies that you research and read stories. So the fact that all of that is there is just going to enhance the experience for me. So I'm sorry, I'm glowing about the game, but this is the first time I've actually seen Stellaris, what it is, rather than just the concept of what it is, and I'm really excited about this cross between 4X and Grand Strategy. So thank you so much for taking the time to show us, and okay, well, we'll see you guys on the next Angry Joe Show. So that was Stellaris, the main interview. Now, I am super interested in the game. My plan was to have Hearts of Iron 4 be my first grand strategy, but this one actually comes out first, and I think it's more appropriate for new players to grand strategy. And the fact that I love 4X is really helping that it's a mix of 4X and grand strategy. So this is the first one that I'll definitely be on board for. It comes out May 9th is when it comes out. And so that one is definitely before Hearts of Iron. So perfect. Now, if you are interested in the game, like I am, I came back because I wanted to see more of it. I wanted to ask more questions. And so I did about another 20 minutes of in-depth questions and answers. And then towards the end, how a good start to a game would be. The developer tells you himself what you should be focusing on in order to create a successful space empire. So enjoy this extra footage that they were so kind to go ahead and give us 2 previews. And okay, guys, I'll see you on the next Angry Joe Show. Oh yeah, and make space great again. I love these hats that they were handing out. Oh man, it's so funny.
Thing.
Okay, and this is for new players who may not be familiar with 4Xs or grand strategies, or actually, just your game, because obviously you have to learn the ins and outs of what we got here at the top of the screen and the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, exactly. So As a master player, of course, you turn it off, but it's kind of
Shut this thing down.
shut this thing down, yeah. But we can perhaps pick,
An excellent
tell me
decision.
everything.
You will have my full support. Building
Good
a
to know.
star empire can be a daunting task.
Okay, fully voiced. Okay, that's awesome. So, fully no. Okay, it's just got segments.
Steps necessary.
It kind of tends to, some of these messages, especially early on, are fully voiced, but then it turns to like the first sentence or two of the tutorials. Right, so he gave me a little mission now to do, look at the situation log,
Special projects and various other points
survey my home system, for
New
example.
items
That's
will
pretty
likely
important.
appear as we begin exploring the galaxy.
Now, once you survey the home system and with a science vessel, and you complete surveying it, will anything ever appear them again, or will it just be clean for the whole rest of the game? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, it's possible that things will appear. We don't just have these anomaly stories or events that can pop up. There can also be random stuff can happen. It's you might not have you might have missed something below the surface of a planet or something, and that might pop up later on. So there are quite a few events like that, especially on your colonies. If you colonize an alien planet, that's usually where you're going to get interesting things happening far later down the line.
I think this is one of the things missing from current 4X games. Now, I'm a happy camper because recently we've seen a rebirth of the genre of 4X, but a lot of the games are just kind of following a formula and copying the same kind of thing over and over, where you create the story, you go through the motions, and there's no real dynamic advance or these little interesting stories that pop up and happen. Could you give me some examples of in your game whether you address that and some things that can happen in the game that you think are cool?
Yeah, for sure. For example, I talked about these colony events. That's a type of stories that can happen in the game, and they're often tied to one of these surface tiles on a planet. They could also be tied to some special conditions on the planet. If it has violent storms or something, and then later on, it can turn out that this leads to a little story. You might need to send your often you need to send your scientist there, or it turns up like a little quest in this situation log here, where you can follow and track it, and sometimes it's timed as well. You need to kill this plant, this kudzu or something, before it kills off the whole planet. So there's an element of that as well.
And how big can your fleets get? Is it limited by a command value of some kind, or?
Yeah, it is. We have a limit to the fleet size, but they can get pretty big. Now, of course, if you only have battleships, you can have fewer ships in the fleet, because it's not number of ships; it's rather the hull size in total or something.
Now, when we get into eventual battles with other people, how do we engage in combat? Are there troop transports? Is there ground combat in this game? Do we see a visual representation of ground combat or bombardment?
Yeah, it's obviously not as visual and beautiful as space combat is. I think that would have been wasting our resources in the wrong area, basically. But what happens is you can build armies. So here's a defense army, which is the one I can build early on, and station them on my planets. And if it's an assault army, then I can launch it into space. It will have a transport basically coming along with it.
For free, that transport just create. Oh, I like that.
Basically for free. The army has its own transports. And then you land them on a planet, and you can see as they try to land, they pass the upper atmosphere.
Oh, that's cool. So there is a little visual representation. Yeah. I like a little bit, even though it's obviously not the focus of the game, just a little fun animation is cool. So then these two armies will fight together. Will we get an update? Since this game is real time, how does that work?
Well, you'll be seeing what's going on here. If you're winning or losing. It's quite important as well that you have a fleet in orbit to support your troops, and you can pick a stance of the fleet. If it's going to be bombarding the planet full out, destroying the infrastructure and everything. That's kind of a lot of collateral damage going on. And the effect that might have is that the population dies, and the buildings are ruined and will have to be rebuilt, essentially. This is seen as an atrocity by certain other empires, so if you do this, they will dislike you for a while. And some of your population units might also get upset, even if they don't live anywhere near there. You know, it's like the fact that your empire is doing that. And this brings me to this.
Tab covers government policies as well as empire-wide edicts.
You know, if I pick an empire that has militaristic ethics, then I'm free to do all kinds of stuff like that. So I'm playing here a fanatic militarist xenophobe empire. So I am allowed to use full bombardment on.
Yeah, this seems like my kind of empire, where I'm just really an asshole.
Yeah, well, I am too in that case. But as you can see, it also determines if I can enslave population, you know, which will prevent them from forming political movements.
So it kind of gets locked off depending on, or I mean, obviously your faction, they don't give a crap about that. They won't do it.
Yeah, some things are completely blocked out, depending on your choice of ethics. If you go full out, you know, there's a choice between fanatic and normal level to an ethic. I'm playing fanatic militarist here, so that means that I can't even see the really pacifist choices in the rules, basically.
Now, are we able to change our mind about some of this stuff or halfway, or is it just at the beginning of the game I pick this and then I'm limited to never changing it?
No, it's basically a cooldown. You can change it with certain intervals, and then you need to wait, and then.
Okay, cool. So if I change my mind, I just wait for the cooldown, or I'd switch the government. Is that going to affect my populace's happiness? Does it affect anything if I switch it?
The switch itself doesn't affect anything really, but of course, you know, if you have pacifist hippie pops, they will not like the fact that you even have instituted a militarist policy. So it's kind of a permanent thing. Until you change that policy, those population units will be pissed off.
Yeah, definitely. So if we zoom out here and we look at the galaxy, you obviously these are huge maps. We're talking the smallest maybe 175, but as you see, as your empire grows, management it seems to me that it would get pretty tough to manage and micromanage. Are there governors or you know, people that can handle a lot of the heavy lifting for me while I focus on high level stuff?
Absolutely. I'm going to load up this multiplayer save game that I showed you. In this case, I have spun off a part of my empire into what we call a sector. It's called the serendipity sector. And the way this works is I can only directly control 5 inhabited planets myself.
Wait a minute. So this is your empire, the super birds, or zoom out. So that's the super birds, but you have also another super birds in the middle. So which one's your real empire, and then you have a spin-off empire?
This is all me, right? This is the Superbird Empire. This is only like an administrative unit within the empire. And, you know, if you had to, as you say, micromanage the surface of all your planets everywhere, that would get old pretty soon. Therefore, we limit you to have like 5 planets under your direct control.
Okay, cool. So 5 of the, 175, I can manage 5. That's very easy.
So these are your core worlds. That's what we're seeing here. These are the core worlds of the Superbird Empire.
Do you set the core worlds? Can you change the planets that you directly control?
Yeah, that's the cool thing. I can go in here and change how these are assigned, basically. So I can remove or add systems to this automated sector, basically, as I like. I paint it. Of course, it has to be kind of a consecutive area. So it has to, stay together. It can't be like broken up into pieces. That can't be one sector. So.
But now, so an automated sector, how does that affect when we're creating fleets? Is it going to do things for us that we want, or is it going to go off and do whatever the hell they want to do?
Yeah, I still have control over everything in space in this sector. And as you can see here, I can give it some orders. So I can allow it to redevelop the planets or not. You know, if I've already built stuff there, I don't want these guys to mess with it. But I can tell them, no, that's okay. I'll let you handle everything. I want you to have an industrial focus because I need more minerals. So you should build like mines on the planets. Or, you know, I want more research points. Give me that. And then they will try and fulfill these goals. And then I have a tax level, basically how much of their minerals and energy should they give to me. And I can give them an infusion as well. You know, I can see that, no, they're not doing anything, so I need to give them some minerals or energy credits to go ahead and develop their planets.
And there are so many different, really interesting and deep aspects to this game. It's hard to pack it into this video. There's without it getting out of control. Are there any? Is there espionage or anything like that in the game?
No, we're not doing anything with espionage. Really, that's going to have to be some kind of expansion, maybe, like the game in the future. So.
Oh yeah, there's already so much in the game that's what I was thinking, that it'd be tough to cram everything in. But okay, cool. And so what? Let's say if you you always start off with one planet, right? So no matter what, this isn't like historical where I'm taking either the, you know, Poland or Germany or Italy that already have forces and already have set borders and historical context. This is, everybody starts the same way. They get the planet and then they build outward. Can you actually show me like the start of the game, and what do you think would be a good start for new players? Like what should they focus on or build first that will lead to their empire more likely succeeding? You know, just kind of give players a start, like your tips on. Is there a specific building, like farms that you want to do? What strategy do you use? Do you increase your population hell a lot on the Earth and then turn it into industrial world and move on, or?
Yeah, what I usually do is I make sure that I have a plan for where my buildings should go on my home planet. So the first things you probably want to look at is your budget. You know, how much money and minerals am I getting at the moment, and can I do anything about that by, clearing out some slums?
Why would we want to clear these out when there seems to be 3 empty spaces there, or those empty spaces are only for food?
That's exactly right.
Okay, and we want to generate money with the gold, so we would have to then clear that, and it would cost resources?
Exactly, and when this cleared out, I can put a population unit there to work it, or build a energy building there.
Oh, this is nice, super simple, I understand. Okay.
Power plant, and then I will get 5 energy because it's 2 plus 3, basically. It's very simple. My capital gives a certain adjacency bonus to you see this little yellow arrow there. So that's also fairly important. What do I want to boost up here? Because, the capital building gives that. I can upgrade my buildings as well. You get a little visual indicator on the tile that you can take this to a higher level and build it up.
Nice.
As well.
No, so what is your plan as the developer of the game? What do you like to do that leads to a successful expansion of your empire when you first start the game with Earth?
Well, the first thing you should do is you should survey the rest of the system. So, giving your scientists the order to find out what resources there are here is obviously the first order of business. And then you have to start up some research, start researching technologies, because I want to progress. I don't want to sit here with my shitty chemical thrusters and not be able to go anywhere. So that's obviously very important. Then I would take a look at the planet and see, how can I build up my energy and so on. Do I have enough food? Yeah, well, we have a surplus of 6 food, so that's fine. And then, you'll let the game run a little bit. If I find any really good resources, I would send my construction ship there and harvest them.
And the construction ship builds a mine, or it is taken its time and taken up while it harvests that resource until the resource is depleted?
It builds a station in orbit that keeps harvesting those resources.
Okay.
I can show you here. So, for example, here we found 2 research resources. I'm going to send my construction ship here and build a research station. Yeah, this is kind of the ghost outline of where it's going to go. I'm gaining 5 basically every month. So
And then with this, it's +2, so we'll have 7.
7 of 2 of them. This is, research is something that newbie players might not think too much about, and that means that they will fall behind in this crucial tech race, as they're probably going to think more about getting more money and minerals. But 2 points of each here is a lot in the early game.
And what is that purple resource right next to the money and minerals?
Up here, that's influence. It's kind of a steady source of income. The rate at which you get influence doesn't really change that much during game, which is very interesting from a balance perspective, because if you have if you have a resource that you can't get more of, you can kind of make it so that big empires aren't necessarily better at certain things than others.
Interesting.
So you can kind of avoid the snowballing effect by tying it to something that everyone gets an equal amount of.
And the influence, how does that affect the way we play it? It limits our actions on what exactly we can do in terms of what?
Yeah, well, it's used for dealing with other empires, for example. It's a kind of political currency.
Do I have to use influence in order to declare war on somebody?
No, but you can influence your allies, for example, to make sure that they agree to your declaration of war.
Oh, that's awesome. That's how even if a game's diplomacy system, because a lot of the times in these 4Xs the diplomacy system is the weakest, because you can't ever get them to do what you want, and even if the deal is good for them, the AI is broken and they're like, nah, I don't want to do it. So are you saying that I can use influence points to
do as you like.
force them? Okay, that's really awesome.
So, but you have to think carefully about this. It's also used to recruit new leaders. Leaders grow old and die, and then you need to spend influence to hire new ones. It can be used for short-term boosts on your planets, various effects. For example, here you see I can start up a privatization effort, which will give me more credits from this planet for 10 years. These edicts also depend on which ideology you picked at the start of the game, for example. And it's used to deal with factions in your empire. If I want to give them a boost or suppress them or something, then I can spend this type of influence currency that I have. So it's used for many different things, but it makes for an interesting choice, again, because you can't really find more influence anywhere in the galaxy. This is what you have. You're limited to this, basically.
That is awesome. Okay. Thank you so much for going in depth and showing us this game. I'm really excited about it. And hopefully you will consider allowing us to rename Juan Morales over there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I really want that, because I think that it creates these little dynamic storylines. My Twitch audience would really like it, and I think it would make the game even more... You grow an attachment to your people in your empire.
Right. No, I
Put it in.
I see where you're coming from. I do. I love that stuff myself. I think everything should be renameable, and why not the leaders as well?
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you.